Ji-won sat on the cold metal floor of the cargo bay. Her armor lay in pieces around her. Big pieces, small pieces, broken pieces. The chest plate had a huge black mark across it. The left arm piece had wires hanging out like colorful hair. The boots were scratched and dented. Everything looked terrible. She picked up a small tool and started cleaning the chest plate. Black dust came off on her cloth. This was burn damage from plasma weapons. The enemy had shot at her many times during the last battle. Her armor had saved her life, but now it needed help. Now it needed fixing. The ship was quiet. Most of the crew were sleeping or working in other parts of the vessel. Ji-won liked working alone. She could think clearly. She could focus on the repairs without anyone talking to her or asking questions. She reached for another tool from her kit. Her hand found empty air. She looked down. The tool was gone. She frowned. She was sure she had put it right there next to her knee. A small chirping sound came from behind her. Ji-won turned her head slowly. 3 pairs of golden eyes stared at her from the doorway. The cubs. The 3 small Felinar cubs she had rescued 2 weeks ago from a destroyed colony ship. They were watching her with great interest. The Felinar were a cat-like species from the outer rim planets. These 3 cubs were the only survivors from their ship. Their parents had died in the attack. Ji-won had found them hiding in a storage locker, scared and alone. She had brought them aboard the Horizon's Edge. She had fed them. She had given them a safe place to sleep. Now they followed her everywhere. The largest cub was covered in silver-gray fur. Ji-won called him Terry because the sounds he made reminded her of that name. Terry was brave and curious. He always wanted to explore new things. The middle cub had golden-brown fur with dark stripes. His name was Minho. He was playful and energetic. He loved to run and jump and play with anything he could find. The smallest cub was pure white with tiny pink paws. Ji-won had named her Hana. She was quiet and gentle. She liked to curl up in warm places and purr softly. Right now, all 3 cubs were sitting in the doorway. Their tails moved slowly from side to side. Their ears pointed forward. They were very interested in what Ji-won was doing. Ji-won smiled a little. "You 3 should be sleeping," she said in a gentle voice. She spoke in Korean first, then switched to the simple trade language that the ship's translator could handle better. "It's late. Go back to your beds," Terry chirped again. He took 1 step forward, then another. His golden eyes never left Ji-won's face. "Stay there," Ji-won said. She pointed at the doorway. "I need to work. This is dangerous. Sharp tools, hot equipment. Not safe for cubs," but Terry did not listen. He walked closer. Minho followed right behind him. Hana came last, moving very slowly and carefully. Ji-won sighed. She knew that tone of chirp. They were not going to leave. They wanted to be near her. The ship's doctor had explained that Felinar cubs needed to bond with adults. Without that bond, they became sick and sad. These 3 had bonded with Ji-won. She was their pack leader now. Their protector, their mother in their eyes. "Okay," Ji-won said. "But you must be careful. Stay over there. Don't touch anything." The cubs sat down about 2 meters away. They watched everything Ji-won did with complete attention. Their eyes followed her hands as she worked. When she picked up a tool, 3 small heads tilted to the side. When she wiped away dirt, 3 small tails swished with interest. Ji-won went back to her work. She cleaned the chest plate until it shone. Then she started checking the electronic systems. She had a small scanner that could find broken circuits. She moved it slowly over the armor pieces, watching the display screen. Behind her, she heard soft padding sounds. Little feet on metal floor. She glanced back quickly. The cubs had moved closer. They were now only 1 meter away. They sat in a neat row, still watching. "I said stay back," Ji-won reminded them. But her voice was not angry. She could never be truly angry at them. They were too small, too innocent, too sweet. She turned back to her work. The scanner showed problems in the left arm piece. 3 circuits were completely dead. 2 more were damaged. She would need to replace them all. This would take time. Ji-won reached for her toolkit. She opened the lid. Inside were dozens of small tools, each in its own place. She needed the wire cutters. She picked them up and set them beside her. Then she needed the soldering iron. She pulled it out carefully, more padding sounds. Closer this time. Ji-won looked back again. The cubs were right behind her now. Terry was sniffing at a piece of armor. Minho was staring at the blinking lights on her scanner. Hana was looking at the open toolkit with wide, fascinated eyes. "What are you doing?" Ji-won asked. She tried to sound firm, but a smile crept onto her face. "I told you to stay back there," Terry chirped at her. It was a happy sound. He reached out one small paw and touched the armor piece gently. Then he looked up at Ji-won with those big golden eyes. He chirped again, more urgently this time. The ship's translator mounted on Ji-won's collar made a clicking sound. Then it spoke in a flat electronic voice. "Want to help. Want to help, Mother?" Ji-won's heart melted. They wanted to help her. These tiny creatures, barely old enough to walk properly, wanted to assist with her repairs. They saw her working hard and they wanted to be part of it. She looked at the mess of armor pieces around her. She looked at the cubs with their eager faces and twitching tails. She looked at the clock on the wall. 6 hours until the ship departed for the border zone. 6 hours to make her armor battle-ready again. This was going to be a long night. "All right," Ji-won said finally. She patted the floor beside her. "Come here. I'll show you how humans fix things, but you must listen carefully. No running around. No playing with dangerous tools. Understand?" 3 cubs chirped together. They sounded so happy. They rushed forward and gathered around Ji-won, their warm little bodies pressing against her legs. Terry purred. Minho's tail wagged like a happy dog. Hana rubbed her head against Ji-won's knee. Ji-won picked up a handful of small bolts. They were all mixed up in different sizes. "Okay," she said. "First lesson. We sort these by size. Big ones here. Medium ones here. Small ones here."
"Can you do that?"
Terry reached out and carefully picked up a bolt with his paw. He studied it closely. Then he placed it in the pile Ji-won had indicated for medium bolts. He chirped proudly. "Good job," Ji-won said. She rubbed his head gently. "Very good." The other cubs immediately wanted to help too. Soon all 3 were sorting bolts, their small paws working carefully. They made mistakes. They sometimes put bolts in the wrong piles. But they tried so hard. They concentrated with such intensity that Ji-won could not help but feel proud of them. This was going to take much longer than she had planned. But as she watched the 3 cubs working beside her, trying their best to help their human mother, Ji-won decided she did not mind at all. 20 minutes had passed. The bolts were finally sorted. Well, mostly sorted. Ji-won had quietly fixed some of the mistakes when the cubs were not looking. She did not want to hurt their feelings. They had worked so hard, but now the real chaos had begun. Ji-won turned around to reach for her plasma torch. When she turned back, her workspace looked like a tornado had hit it. Terry had somehow dragged 3 spare power cells across the floor. They were heavy, almost as big as he was. He had arranged them in a circle and was now sitting in the middle of them, looking very pleased with himself. Minho had discovered the fiber optic cables. These were thin, flexible wires that glowed with soft blue light. They were supposed to stay coiled neatly in their box. Instead, Minho had pulled them all out. He had tangled them around himself, around a piece of armor and around one of the cargo bay support posts. He looked like a golden furball wrapped in glowing blue spaghetti. He was purring loudly, very happy with his creation. Hana had found Ji-won's helmet. It was the most important part of the armor. Inside the helmet were delicate sensors and communication equipment. It was also very expensive, and right now, little white Hana was sitting inside it. Just her back half was visible, with her fluffy tail sticking straight up. Her front half was completely inside the helmet. Soft purring sounds echoed from within the metal shell. Ji-won stood very still. She closed her eyes. She counted to 10 in Korean. Then she counted to 10 again. Then she opened her eyes. The chaos was still there. It was not a dream. "What?" she said slowly. "Are you all doing?" 3 cubs looked at her. Well, 2 cubs looked at her. Hana was still in the helmet and could not see anything. Terry chirped proudly. He patted his paw on one of the power cells. The translator on Ji-won's collar clicked to life. "Made nest. Safe place. Like mother's armor. Safe nest." Ji-won looked at the power cells arranged in a circle. She realized Terry was trying to copy the way her armor protected her. He had built walls with the power cells. In his young mind, he was helping. He was making a safe place just like her armor made her safe. Minho chirped from his tangle of cables. "Pretty lights. Like stars. Made stars for mother." Ji-won looked at the glowing cables wrapped everywhere. The fiber optics did look like strings of stars when they were spread out like that. Minho had been trying to make something beautiful for her. A gift. A decoration for her workspace. A muffled chirp came from inside the helmet. The translator could barely pick it up. Warm, cozy, good sleeping place. Jiwon walked over to the helmet. She gently picked it up. Hana's little white face looked up at her from inside. The cub had curled up perfectly in the curved interior. Her eyes were half closed with contentment. She was moments away from falling asleep. "That's not a bed," Jiwon said softly, but she could not help smiling. Hana looked so comfortable and peaceful in there. She carefully lifted Hana out of the helmet. The cub made a small sound of protest but did not resist. Jiwon set her down gently on the floor. Hana immediately walked back toward the helmet, clearly wanting to climb back inside. "No," Jiwon said firmly. She picked up the helmet and held it above her head, out of reach. "This is work equipment, not a sleeping pod." Hana sat down and looked up at the helmet with sad eyes. Her ears drooped. Her tail stopped moving. She looked like the saddest creature in the entire galaxy. Jiwon's resolve wavered. Those eyes, that sad little face. It was not fair. No one should be able to look that pitiful. "Later," Jiwon heard herself say, "after I finish the repairs, you can sleep in it for a little while. But only if you are good right now, deal?" Hana's ears perked up immediately. She chirped happily. Her tail started swishing again. Jiwon turned to Minho next. The golden cub was still wrapped in glowing cables, looking very pleased with himself. Getting him untangled was going to be a challenge. "Hold still," Jiwon said. She knelt down and started carefully unwinding the cables. Minho tried to help by moving around, which only made the tangles worse. "No, stop moving. Just sit still. Yes, like that. Good cub." It took 10 minutes to free Minho from the cables. When he was finally loose, he immediately tried to play with the cables again. Jiwon quickly gathered them up and put them back in their box. She closed the lid firmly and moved the box to a high shelf where small paws could not reach. Minho watched the box sadly. Then he looked around for something else interesting to play with. "No," Jiwon said before he could move. "Come here. I have a job for you." Minho's ears perked forward with interest. "A job?" He trotted over to Jiwon immediately. Jiwon pointed at her toolkit. "I need tools. When I ask for something, you bring it to me. Understand?" "You are my tool assistant," Minho chirped excitedly. He had an important job now. He was going to be useful. Jiwon turned to Terry last. The silver cub was still sitting in his circle of power cells, looking very protective of his creation. "Those need to go back on the charging rack," Jiwon explained. "But I like your nest idea. How about this? You can help me organize all the small parts. I will give you containers. You sort the parts and guard them. Keep them safe. That's your job, okay?" Terry considered this. Then he chirped in agreement. Guarding things was important. He could do that. Jiwon found 3 small containers. She gave one to Terry filled with tiny screws. "Sort these by size. Big, medium, small, like we did with the bolts." Terry got to work immediately. He was very serious about his task. His little face was a picture of concentration. Jiwon sat back down at her main workspace. She had her armor pieces spread out in front of her. She had her tools nearby. She had 3 cubs who were now hopefully going to help instead of cause chaos. "Okay," she said to herself in Korean. "Let's try this again." She picked up the left arm piece of her armor. The damaged circuits were visible inside. She needed to remove the broken ones first. "Minho," she called. "I need the small wire cutters. They are red with black handles." Minho jumped up and ran to the toolkit. He looked inside, his head tilting back and forth as he searched. There were many tools, many different shapes and colors. He tried to remember what Jiwon had said, red with black handles. He grabbed a tool with his mouth and brought it to Jiwon. It was the wrong tool. He had brought the pliers, which were silver. "Close," Jiwon said kindly, "but not quite right. The wire cutters, red ones. Try again." Minho ran back to the toolkit. He looked more carefully this time. Red. Black handles. There. He grabbed the correct tool and brought it to Jiwon. "Perfect," Jiwon said. She rubbed his head as a reward. "Good job, Minho." Minho's chest puffed up with pride. He had done it. He had brought the right tool. He was a good assistant. Jiwon used the wire cutters to snip away the damaged circuits. Small pieces of burnt wire fell onto her lap. She brushed them aside and reached for the new circuits she needed to install. For the next hour, the work continued. Jiwon would ask for a tool. Minho would bring it. Sometimes he brought the right one. Sometimes he brought the wrong one, but he always tried his best. And each time he got it right, Jiwon praised him. She could see him learning. By the end of the hour, he was getting it right more often than not. Terry sorted screws with intense focus. He had 3 piles now, each one perfectly organized by size. He looked at each screw carefully before placing it. He did not make mistakes. He was a very serious and careful worker. Hana had curled up nearby. She was not doing any task, but her presence was calming. Her soft purring created a gentle background noise. It was soothing. It helped Jiwon focus. The cargo bay clock showed that 2 hours had passed since she started working. The armor repairs that should have taken 2 hours were not even half done yet. Working with 3 small helpers was slow. They made mistakes. They needed guidance and encouragement. They sometimes got distracted and wandered off, but Jiwon found she did not mind. Every time Minho brought her the right tool, his eyes shone with happiness. Every time Terry completed sorting a container of parts, he chirped with pride. Every time Hana purred, the sound filled Jiwon's heart with warmth. She was not just repairing armor anymore. She was teaching. She was bonding with 3 small lives who depended on her. She was showing them that work could be done carefully and well. She was giving them purpose and confidence, and somehow, that felt more important than finishing quickly. Jiwon held up the neural interface disk. It was a thin silver circle about the size of her palm. Small lights blinked along its edge. This was one of the most important pieces of her armor. It connected her thoughts directly to the armor systems. When she thought about moving, the armor moved. When she wanted to activate a weapon, the weapon activated, all through this small disk. The 3 cubs leaned forward with interest. Their eyes were fixed on the blinking lights. Terry chirped a question. "This is special human technology," Jiwon explained. She spoke slowly so the translator could keep up. "It connects my brain to the armor. My thoughts become actions." She pointed to a spot on the disk. "This node here reads my neural patterns. These wires carry the signals. This processor translates thoughts into commands. Then the armor does what I want it to do." Minho tilted his head to the side. He chirped, confused. The translator spoke. "How? No wires to head. How connects?" "Good question," Jiwon said. She was pleased that Minho was thinking about how things worked. "The connection is wireless. It uses electromagnetic fields. The disk sends signals through the air to receivers in my helmet. Very advanced technology." She continued working as she talked. Her hands moved carefully, reconnecting tiny wires to the disk. Each wire had to go in exactly the right place. One mistake could cause the whole system to fail. Or worse, it could send wrong signals to the armor. "That would be dangerous. Humans are not like your people," Jiwon said. She glanced at the cubs. "Felinar are born with sharp claws, strong bodies, fast reflexes. Natural hunters, right?" The 3 cubs chirped in agreement. Even at their young age, their claws were sharp. Their teeth were pointed. Their muscles were already developing well. In a few years, they would be formidable predators. "Humans are different," Jiwon continued. She finished connecting one wire and started on the next. "We are not very strong. Our teeth are flat. Our nails are weak. We cannot run as fast as most species. We cannot see as well in the dark. We have no armor on our skin. No poison in our bite. No natural weapons at all," Terry chirped. The translator said, "Then how humans survive? How humans fight?" Jiwon smiled. This was the important part. The part that defined her entire species. "We think. We adapt, we build, we solve problems." She held up the neural interface disk again. "We cannot grow claws, so we make weapons. We cannot grow thick skin, so we build armor. We cannot fly, so we build ships. We look at the universe and we ask, how can we do that? And then we figure it out. We create, we innovate, we never give up." She set the disk down gently and picked up the armor's chest plate. The huge burn mark was still visible even after cleaning. She traced her finger along the scorched metal. "This armor has saved my life many times. In the last battle, I was hit by 7 plasma bolts. Without this armor, I would be dead. But humans built this protection. We saw a problem and we solved it," Hana chirped softly. "Humans smart. Sometimes," Jiwon said with a laugh. "Sometimes we are very stupid. We make mistakes. We fight each other. We do foolish things. But we learn. That is the key. We always learn. We never stop learning." She looked at each cub in turn. "You 3 are learning right now. Terry, you are learning to organize and sort. Minho, you are learning to identify tools and follow instructions. Hana, you are learning by watching and listening. This is good. Learning is how we all grow stronger. Terry reached out and touched the burn mark on the chest plate. He made a worried sound. The translator said, "Hurt, mother? Fire hurt, mother?" "No," Jiwan assured him. "The armor protected me. The fire never reached my skin. I was safe inside. That is why we build strong things. To protect ourselves. To protect others." She started applying a special compound to the burn mark. This substance would seal the damage and restore the armor's strength. As she worked, she continued talking. "In human history, we were once very weak. Thousands of years ago, we had no technology. We lived in caves. We hunted with stone tools. Many predators wanted to eat us. Life was very hard. The cubs listened with complete attention. Their tails had stopped moving. Their ears pointed forward. They did not want to miss a single word. But we survived," Jiwan said. "We used our brains. We learned to make fire. We learned to create better weapons. We learned to work together in groups. We protected each other, and slowly we became stronger. Not in our bodies, in our minds, in our technology, in our unity." She finished treating the burn mark and moved to the next damaged section. Other species in the galaxy have natural advantages. The Krawl have armored scales. The Vex can regenerate lost limbs. The Tauren can breathe in space. Every species has something special. But humans? Our special ability is that we refuse to accept limitations. We refuse to be weak. We build what we need to survive. Minho picked up a small wrench. He turned it over in his paws, examining it closely. Then he chirped. "Humans build. Falinar hunt. Both good?" "Both very good," Jiwan confirmed. "The galaxy needs all kinds of people. Hunters, builders, farmers, teachers, protectors. Everyone has value. Everyone contributes something important." She paused in her work and looked at the three cubs seriously. "You three are Falinar. You have natural gifts that humans do not have. You are faster, stronger, your senses are sharper, but you can also learn to build and create just like you are learning now, and that combination makes you even more special. Hunter and builder together. That is powerful." Terry puffed up his chest with pride. Minho's tail wagged faster. Hana purred louder. "Your people and my people should work together," Jiwan said. "That is why I rescued you. Not just because you needed help, but because I believe in a galaxy where everyone helps everyone else, where we combine our different strengths, where we protect those who cannot protect themselves." She picked up a complex piece of the armor's servo system. This controlled the movement of the arm. It had dozens of tiny parts all working together. "Look at this. See how many pieces? Each one is small and seems unimportant. But together they create something powerful. Together they work perfectly. Alone, each piece is useless. But combined, they give me the strength to lift heavy things. To fight, to protect." She pointed at herself, then at the cubs. "Like us, I am one piece. You are three pieces. Together we are stronger. Together we can do more than any of us could do alone." The ship's intercom suddenly crackled to life. A male voice spoke in Korean, then in trade language. "Engineer Ji-won, this is Commander Dae-jung. Status report on armor repairs?" Ji-won pressed the comm button on her collar. "Commander, this is Ji-won. Repairs are progressing. Currently at 60% completion. I will have full functionality before departure time." "Good," the commander's voice replied. "The enemy fleet has been spotted near the border zone. We will need every combat-ready soldier." "How are the cubs doing?" Ji-won glanced at the three small creatures watching her with their golden eyes. "They are well, Commander. They are helping me with the repairs." There was a pause. Then the commander's voice came back and Ji-won could hear the smile in his words. "Helping, I see. Well, make sure they do not damage anything expensive." Dae-jung out. The comm link closed. Ji-won looked at the cubs. "Did you hear that? The commander knows you are helping me. That makes you official crew members. You are part of the team now." The cubs chirped excitedly. They were crew members. They had jobs. They were important. Ji-won returned to her work with renewed focus. The servo system needed careful recalibration. She used a small scanner to check each component. Green lights meant everything was working. Red lights meant problems. She found 3 red lights and made notes about what needed fixing. As she worked, she thought about her own training. Years ago, she had been a young student in Busan, learning engineering from her grandmother. Grandmother Yuna had been a survivor of the first contact wars, when humans first met alien species. Some of those meetings had been peaceful, some had been violent. Many humans had died learning that the galaxy was not always friendly. Grandmother Yuna had taught Jiwan an important lesson. "We must be strong," she had said, her old hands guiding Jiwan's young fingers over a broken machine. But strength comes in many forms. Physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, moral strength. We must develop all of them, and we must use our strength to protect those who are weak. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us good. Jiwan looked at the three cubs. They were weak now, small and vulnerable. Without her protection, they would not survive. But she was teaching them, showing them how to be strong in their own ways, giving them skills and knowledge. One day they would be powerful. And maybe, just maybe, they would remember these lessons. Maybe they would protect someone else who needed help. That was the human way. Protect the weak. Teach the young. Build a better future. One small act of kindness at a time. 3 hours had passed. Jiwan's back was sore from sitting on the hard floor. Her fingers were tired from working with tiny components, but the armor was nearly complete. The chest plate gleamed under the cargo bay lights. The servos in the arms and legs responded perfectly to her test commands. The neural interface showed all green indicators. The weapon systems were calibrated and ready. She sat back and allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. She had done it. Well, mostly. There was still the final integration test to run. That would make sure all the pieces worked together correctly. But the hard part was finished. The cubs were exhausted. Tyree had finally stopped sorting screws. He was lying next to his carefully organized containers, his eyes half closed. Minho was sprawled on the floor near the toolkit, his golden fur rising and falling with deep breaths. Hana had not moved from her spot in over an hour. She was fast asleep, curled into a tiny white ball. Jiwan felt a wave of affection wash over her. These three small creatures had worked so hard. They had tried their best to help. Yes, they had made mistakes. Yes, they had slowed her down. But they had also given her something unexpected. Company, purpose, a reason to explain her work and think about why she did what she did. She quietly stood up and walked to the storage locker. Inside was a thermal blanket, soft and warm. She pulled it out and carefully spread it over the sleeping cubs. Hana did not even stir. Minho made a small sound and curled up tighter under the warmth. Terry's eyes opened briefly, looked at Jiwan, and then closed again with a contented chirp. "Sleep well, little ones," Jiwan whispered in Korean. "You earned your rest." She returned to her armor. Now came the important part. The integration test. She needed to power up the armor's core reactor and make sure energy flowed correctly through all systems. This was dangerous. If something was connected wrong, the reactor could overload. There could be sparks, small explosions, nothing that would hurt anyone, but it could damage the armor beyond repair. Jiwan double-checked every connection. She traced every wire with her eyes. She verified every seal. Everything looked correct. She took a deep breath and pressed the power button. The reactor hummed to life. It started low, a deep vibration that Jiwan could feel in her bones. Then it grew stronger. Energy began flowing through the armor. One by one, systems activated. Lights blinked on across the chest plate. The HUD display in the helmet lit up with information. The servo motors engaged with soft whirring sounds. Jiwan watched the diagnostic panel carefully. Green lights appeared. First one, then another, then dozens of them, cascading across the display like a green waterfall. Power flow normal. Temperature normal. Pressure seals intact. Weapon systems online. Shield generators charging. More green lights. The neural interface connected successfully. Communications array active. Targeting computer calibrated. Emergency systems ready. Every single indicator showed green. Perfect functionality. No errors, no warnings. The armor was completely operational. Jiwan let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. Relief flooded through her. She had done it. Despite the distractions, despite the help from three well-meaning but clumsy cubs, despite everything, she had successfully repaired her armor. It was better than before, stronger, ready for battle. She shut down the reactor to conserve power. The armor went dark again, but that was expected. It would stay in standby mode until she needed to use it. She walked around the armor, examining it from all sides. The burn marks were gone. The broken servos were replaced. Every scratch had been polished away. It stood on its maintenance rack like a silent guardian, waiting for its next mission. Ji-won thought about her grandmother again. Grandmother Yuna had always said that machines had personalities. Not like living things, but something close. A good machine that was well maintained would serve you faithfully. A machine that was neglected would fail when you needed it most. You had to respect your equipment, care for it, treat it well, and in return it would protect you. This armor had protected Ji-won through dozens of battles. She had been shot at, burned, frozen, and nearly crushed. Every time the armor had kept her alive, and every time she had repaired it carefully, given it the attention it deserved, honored it for its service. "Thank you," she said softly to the armor. "You have saved my life many times. I will never take that for granted." She looked over at the sleeping cubs under their thermal blanket. They had wanted to help her honor this armor. In their own simple way, they understood that it was important, that it deserved care and respect. They might not know why yet, but they felt it instinctively. Terry stirred under the blanket. He lifted his head and looked at Ji-won with sleepy eyes. He chirped softly. The translator on Ji-won's collar was still active. It spoke in a whisper. "Armor fixed? Mother safe now?" "Yes," Ji-won said gently. She walked over and knelt beside him. She stroked his soft silver fur. "The armor is fixed. I will be safe in battle. Thank you for helping me, Terry. You did a good job." Terry's eyes brightened with pride. Even exhausted, he wanted to hear that he had done well, that he had been useful. Ji-won understood that feeling. Everyone wanted to know they mattered, that their efforts were appreciated. Minho woke up next. He yawned, showing his sharp little teeth. Then he crawled over to Ji-won and climbed into her lap. He was surprisingly heavy for such a small creature. His muscles were already developing well. In a year, he would be too big to sit in anyone's lap. "Good sleep?" Ji-won asked. She wrapped her arms around him gently. Minho purred and rubbed his head against her chest. He was warm and soft. Ji-won felt her heart melt. These cubs trusted her completely. They felt safe with her. That trust was precious. It was a responsibility she took very seriously. Hana continued sleeping. She was the youngest and needed more rest than the others. Ji-won let her sleep. There was no reason to wake her yet. The cargo bay door suddenly opened. Ji-won looked up quickly, her body tensing. But it was just another crew member. A young man in an engineering uniform. His name was Kyung-soo. He was a junior engineer, only been on the ship for 6 months. He had kind eyes and a nervous smile. "Oh," Kyung-soo said when he saw Ji-won with the cubs. "I am sorry. I did not mean to interrupt. I was looking for spare power couplings. We need them in the engine room." "It's fine," Ji-won said. She pointed to a storage cabinet. "Third shelf. Help yourself." Kyung-soo walked to the cabinet and found what he needed, but he kept glancing at Ji-won and the cubs with a curious expression. Finally, he spoke. "Can I ask something?" "Of course. Why did you rescue them?" Kyung-soo asked. He gestured at the cubs. "I mean, I am glad you did. They are very cute. But it was dangerous. You risked your life to save them from that destroyed ship. Why?" Ji-won looked down at Minho in her lap, at Terry lying beside her, at little Hana sleeping peacefully under the blanket. Why had she risked everything for 3 alien cubs she did not know? "Because they needed help," she said simply. "Because I could help them. Because leaving them to die would have been wrong. But they are not human," Kyung-soo said. "Not unkindly. Just confused. They are not even the same species. Why does it matter?" Ji-won met his eyes. "Do you know what makes humans special, Kyung-soo? It is not our strength. It is not our technology. It is our ability to care about others. Even others who are different from us. Even others who cannot repay us. We help because it is right. Because we can imagine ourselves in their place. Because we choose to be good." She stroked Minho's fur gently. "These cubs feel pain just like we do. They feel fear. They feel loneliness. They want to be safe and loved. In all the ways that matter, they are the same as us. So yes, I risked my life for them, and I would do it again." Kyung-soo was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "You are right. Thank you for reminding me. Sometimes I forget why we fight. It is not just to protect humans. It is to protect all innocent lives." "Exactly," Ji-won said. Kyung-soo took the power couplings and headed toward the door. But he paused and looked back. "If you ever need help with the cubs, let me know. I grew up with pets. I am good with small animals." "I will remember that," Ji-won said. "Thank you, Kyung-soo." The door closed behind him. Ji-won was alone again with the cubs. Well, alone except for the thousands of tons of starship around her, except for the 200 crew members working throughout the vessel, except for the vast galaxy of stars outside the hull. But in this moment, in this cargo bay, it felt like just her and the cubs. A small family, a pack, a unit of mutual care and protection. The ship's clock showed that she had 2 hours left before departure. 2 hours to prepare herself mentally for battle. 2 hours to rest her body. 2 hours to spend with 3 small creatures who depended on her. Hana finally woke up. She stretched, her little legs extending, her back arching. Then she saw Ji-won and immediately trotted over. She climbed up Ji-won's leg and settled on her shoulder. It was an awkward position, but Hana seemed to love it. She purred directly into Ji-won's ear. Now Ji-won had 1 cub in her lap, 1 cub on her shoulder, and 1 cub lying against her side. She was completely surrounded by warm, purring, contented cubs. She could not move without disturbing them. She was trapped. She smiled. It was the best kind of trap. "You know," she said to them in Korean, then repeated in trade language, "I joined the military to protect humanity. To fight our enemies. To defend our board." The ship's morning alarm chimed softly through the cargo bay. In space, there was no real morning. No sun to rise, no dawn to break. But humans needed routine. They needed a sense of day and night, even in the eternal darkness between stars. So the ship operated on Earth Standard Time, artificial cycles of light and dark, shifts that matched the human circadian rhythm. Ji-won had not slept. She had spent the last 2 hours sitting with the cubs, letting them rest against her. She had used the time to meditate, to prepare her mind for what was coming. The border zone was dangerous. The enemy fleet was ruthless. There would be fighting. There would be blood. Maybe even death, but that was tomorrow's problem. Right now, in this moment, she had peace. She had 3 warm, living creatures who trusted her, who loved her, who made her remember why she fought in the first place. The cubs were awake now, stretching and yawning. They were hungry. Ji-won stood up carefully, her legs stiff from sitting so long. She walked to her personal locker and pulled out a container of nutrient paste. It was specially formulated for young Felinar. The ship's doctor had provided it after Ji-won rescued the cubs. She squeezed some paste onto 3 small plates. The cubs rushed over eagerly and began eating. They made happy chirping sounds as they ate. Their tails swished contentedly. While they ate, Ji-won looked at her armor one last time. It stood ready on its maintenance rack, perfect, complete, waiting for her. She walked over to it and began the process of putting it on. First came the undersuit. It was a thin layer of smart fabric that regulated temperature and monitored vital signs. She stepped into it and pulled it up over her body. It sealed automatically at the back. Next came the leg pieces. She stepped into the boots first. They locked onto the undersuit with magnetic seals. Then the shin guards, the knee protectors, the thigh plates. Each piece clicked into place with satisfying precision. The servos activated, connecting to her leg muscles. She could feel the armor becoming part of her body. The cubs stopped eating and watched with fascination. They had never seen this transformation before. Their mother, their soft human protector, was becoming something else. Something powerful. Ji-won attached the waist belt. This held most of the armor's power distribution systems. Small lights blinked along its surface as it powered up. Then came the chest plate. This was the heaviest piece. She lifted it over her head and lowered it onto her torso. It settled into place with a heavy thunk. Seals hissed as they locked. The armor's main reactor hummed to life, sending energy flowing through all systems. The arm pieces came next. Forearm guards, elbow joints, shoulder plates. Each one added more weight, more protection, more strength. The servos in the arms were the most powerful. They would let her lift objects 10 times heavier than normal. They would let her punch through steel doors. They would turn her arms into weapons. The gloves were last. These were the most delicate part of the arm assembly. They had to be strong enough to protect her hands, but flexible enough to let her manipulate small objects. She wiggled her fingers, testing the response. Perfect. She could feel every tiny movement translated through the servos. Now came the helmet. This was the piece that Hana had tried to sleep in earlier. Ji-won picked it up and looked at the three cubs. They stared back at her with wide golden eyes. "This is the last piece," she said. "After I put this on, I will look very different. But I will still be me inside. Still your mother. Still your protector. Do not be afraid." She lifted the helmet and lowered it onto her head. It sealed with a soft hiss. The HUD activated immediately, filling her vision with information. Enemy positions. Friendly positions. System status. Ammunition counts. Energy levels. Hundreds of data points, all updating in real time. The external speakers activated. When Ji-won spoke now, her voice came through with a slight metallic echo. "Can you understand me?" The cubs chirped nervously. They recognized her voice, but she looked so different now. So big, so intimidating. The armor made her nearly 2 meters tall. It made her broad and powerful. It made her look like a warrior from ancient legends. Ji-won knelt down slowly. The armor's servos whined softly with the movement. She extended one armored hand toward the cubs. "It's still me. Come here." Terry was the first to approach. He was the brave one. He walked up to Ji-won's armored hand and sniffed it carefully. Then he rubbed his head against the metal fingers. They were cold and hard, so different from soft human skin. But the gesture was the same. The love was the same. Minho came next, then Hana. Soon all three cubs were pressing against Ji-won's armored legs, purring and chirping. They understood. The outside had changed, but the inside was still their mother. "Good," Ji-won said. Her voice through the speakers was warm despite the metallic tone. "You are very brave, cubs. I am proud of you." She stood up carefully, making sure not to step on any small paws or tails. The armor responded perfectly to her movements. Every thought translated into action through the neural interface. She raised her right arm. The armor's arm raised. She clenched her fist. The armored hand closed with enough force to crush stone. This was power. This was protection. This was what humanity had built to survive in a dangerous galaxy. The cargo bay door opened again. This time it was Commander Dae-jung. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He wore the uniform of a senior military officer. Behind him were two other soldiers. Sergeant Minji, a weapons specialist with sharp features and quick movements, and Lieutenant Tae-hyun, a pilot with steady hands and a calm demeanor. "Ji-won," the commander said. "Good, you're ready. We deploy in 30 minutes. Mission briefing in conference room 2. "Yes, Commander," Ji-won responded. Her voice through the armor's speakers was crisp and professional. Commander Dae-jung looked down at the three cubs. His stern expression softened slightly. "And what about these three? Who will watch them during the mission?" "I will, Commander," a voice said from the doorway. Kyung-soo stepped into the cargo bay. I volunteered. "I will keep them safe," the commander nodded. "Very well. Make sure they stay in the protected areas. If the ship is boarded, take them to Emergency Shelter 7. "Understood?" "Yes, Commander," Kyung-soo said. Ji-won knelt down one more time to speak to the cubs. "I have to go now. I have to do my job. Kyung-soo will take care of you while I am gone. Be good. Listen to him. Stay safe," Terry chirped urgently. The translator struggled with the emotion in his voice. "Mother go to danger? Mother come back?" "I will come back," Ji-won promised. She wished she could stroke his fur one more time, but the armored gloves were too rough. She settled for gently touching his head with one metal finger. "I always come back. That is what mothers do. We protect, we fight, we return to our families." Minho pressed against her leg. "Promise." "I promise," Ji-won said. "And when I return, we will work on the armor together again. I will teach you more about human technology. I will show you how to build things, how to create, how to be strong in all the ways that matter." Hana was crying, small sad sounds that broke Ji-won's heart. "Don't go, stay safe here." "I cannot stay," Ji-won said gently. "Other people need protection too. Other families. Other cubs like you. If I do not fight, they will not be safe. Do you understand?" Hana sniffled but nodded. She understood. It did not make it easier, but she understood. Ji-won stood up. She looked at Kyung-soo. "Take care of them. They are important to me." "I will guard them with my life," Kyung-soo said seriously. "You have my word." Ji-won turned to the commander and the other soldiers. "I am ready." They walked together toward the deployment bay. Ji-won's armored footsteps echoed through the corridors. Heavy, powerful, determined. Other crew members saw her and stepped aside, giving respectful nods. This was what a human warrior looked like. This was what humanity had become. Not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the most naturally armed, but adaptable, intelligent, determined builders of tools and technology, protectors of the innocent. As they walked, Sergeant Minji spoke. I heard you have been teaching the Felinar cubs about human engineering. Yes, Jiwon confirmed. Why bother? Minji asked. Not cruelly, just curious. They are predators, hunters. What use would they have for engineering? Because learning makes everyone stronger, Jiwon replied. The galaxy does not need only hunters or only builders. It needs both. It needs cooperation. It needs different species working together, combining their strengths. Lieutenant Taehyun smiled. A noble philosophy. I hope the enemy agrees with you. They do not have to agree, Commander Daejong said. They just have to learn that attacking innocent people has consequences. That humanity will defend those who cannot defend themselves. That we will not allow cruelty to go unanswered. They arrived at the deployment bay. Dozens of other armored soldiers were already there, checking weapons and equipment. The atmosphere was tense but focused. Everyone knew what was at stake. The enemy fleet had been raiding civilian ships, destroying colonies, taking prisoners. It had to stop. Jiwon took her position in the formation. Around her were other warriors, some human, some alien, all dedicated to the same cause, all willing to risk everything to protect the innocent. The commander stood at the front and began the briefing. Maps appeared on holographic displays. Enemy positions marked in red, friendly positions in blue. The mission object,